All right.
So I think just starting off, just tell me how you're feeling right now. I know the election's only a couple days away now. Kind of what emotions are you?
Yeah, well, we're really encouraged. We've had a lot of support from people across the district based on my record of service in Columbia, issues that matter to people like education and infrastructure, transparency, trying to bring reforms to state government. So we have a very positive message about what we've done and what we hope to do in the future.
Yeah. So tell me again too how the campaign has been going for you up to this point. I know you're close to the finish line now, but a little bit different than your first time around.
Yeah, much different, trying to be very respectful of voters and how they may want to be approached or not be approached based on what's been going on. But we still have teams out going door to door now, making phone calls, trying to educate voters and be accessible to answer whatever questions they may have.
Mm-hmm. And so kind of the most pressing issues from constituents right now, has it changed in the last 4 years? To what are you hearing right now from constituents?
Well, we have a great conversation going on now about improving education in Columbia. And that's been something that we've been working on for 2 years, so that's at the forefront of a lot of people's minds. It should be. We haven't addressed education in South Carolina like this in many, many years, so I'm excited about that. A lot of input from teachers and parents, administrators. So there's more work to be done, but that's a great conversation that's taking place. Making sure people understand the transparency aspects of our government and trying to make the state budget open for all to see with the online checkbook bill that I've filed. And then just continuing to work to improve our infrastructure. Our roads were neglected for 30 years. Finally, in 2017, we passed a funding mechanism similar to North Carolina and Georgia. So we're 3 years into a plan to catch up for the last 30. So those are some things that I think matter a lot to people in the upstate that we're going to continue to focus on.
Okay. And can you give us too just a summary of your background a little bit for those of you who don't know?
Sure.
Quite yet, and also why you believe you'd be the best candidate once you get this position.
So I grew up in Spartanburg. My wife is from Rock Hill. We live in Moore, South Carolina now. I've been married 17 years. I went to Dorman High School and then graduated from Wofford College before going to law school at the University of South Carolina. We have 3 sons. One's going to be a sophomore at Dorman, one's going to be an 8th grader at Dawkins Middle School, and our little guy will be in 3rd grade at Anderson Mill Elementary. Come from a family of educators, from being involved in our schools to being in school boards and administration. And I think I'm best suited for this job because when I ran 4 years ago, I told the voters that District 12 deserved a senator who could get a seat at the table in Columbia and be part of the conversation on these important issues like education reform and infrastructure and social issues that matter to people in this area. We didn't have that before, and I've gotten that seat at the table. I've been put on more conference committees in my first term than the 2 prior senators over 16 years combined. I've been able to get legislation passed. I've been put on subcommittees to really dive in and look at issues. I was the only first-term senator put on the education reform subcommittee because people down there know I'm there to work. I'm there to get things done and try to move the state forward. So that's my pledge to the voters of District 12. If they re-elect me, I'm going to continue the work we've started and make sure that we make progress for South Carolina.
Yeah, and so if you do win this, this primary on Tuesday, what is the first thing that you would want to do in office? I know you mentioned education reform. What exactly would that be?
So we got started on a bill last year to look at how we streamline our education process. We've got a group that's looking at education funding. I'm going to be part of a group, if re-elected, they'll be looking at class size and discipline issues in our schools. The bill that we passed this year that went back to the House, but unfortunately wasn't finished because we got sent home, would look at how we remove clutter from the classroom and allow teachers to teach. Make sure that the tests we're requiring our students to take actually have measures in place that are productive for that student's parents. And that bill needs to be finished. And so that's something that would be at the top of my agenda were I to be reelected. If we can't get to it this fall, my hope is that we may take it up when we go back to Columbia this fall as well.
And speaking of schools, I know right now Mark Lynch has been under fire for some comments making around green charter schools. Have you heard anything about this, or have you been following this?
I've been contacted by a lot of parents, administrators, supporters of the school that have expressed concerns. There was a letter that came from the state charter school district yesterday that basically said the issues he raised were baseless. They've been investigated before. They've never had any finding to substantiate the allegations he's making. And here's the main thing. Like I mentioned, we have a very robust debate in Columbia going on right now. I mean, not right this minute, but at this time, about how we improve education in South Carolina. We haven't talked this much about education in Columbia in years. We don't need baseless allegations made against schools at this time. We need to come together. We need to work to make sure that every student in South Carolina gets a quality education. That needs to be our focus. We don't need to be making accusations for political gain 1 week before a campaign ends.
Yeah, and is that more important than ever right now, with the pandemic inflicting on the learning process?
Absolutely, and it brings up issues like rural broadband access. While we're very blessed in the upstate to have wonderful public schools, there are students who've had a hard time logging in to do the work that teachers have assigned during this. So that's something that we'll be looking to address as part of this reform measure too, so that should something happen in the future, or even this fall, if we have to approach the start of school differently than usual, we have access for these students that need to be able to do their work and continue to learn and thrive.